Hi guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today I am going to do an episode of This Year in Perfume. And for the first time in a while, we're going to do just a single year because the year of 2001, we're going along in our progression, as you know. And the year of 2001 has enough fragrances where we can just focus on one year. And, you know, it's kind of funny because I'll tell you something that I did today that I've never done before. Somebody recommended that I should watch one of my videos without the sound. So I watched it and I realized how much I talk with my hands. So I'm going to try and keep my hands to myself today, although you might get a little, you know, pop up here and there. But anyways, long story short is we're going to do it this year, an episode of This Year in Perfume. I have probably 100 first impressions I want to do. There's so many fragrances that people were kind enough to send me. Jonathan, I realized he sent me Corpus Equus. He sent me the original Ted Lapidus Pour Homme from the 1970s. I have these Roja Dove samples from D.L. Qualia that I still have to do first impressions of. There's still a couple more Arige Ladori fragrances that Russian Adam sent me. So I have a lot of first impressions that I want to do, but I don't want the channel to just turn into first impressions or the same houses over and over again. You know, I want there to still be variety. So I like mixing in these fragrances, you know, these videos about different fragrances, either this year in perfume or, you know, mixing in Perfumer's portfolio where we can just kind of lay back, chill, and talk about some of the different fragrances. So before we hop into it, I actually want to talk about my scent of the day, as is customary. And today I'm wearing a discontinued fragrance, shockingly discontinued. And it's from the House of Tom Ford, and it's the original release from 2007 that kind of kicked everything off and then launched the private, what do they call it? I'm losing my mind here. What do they call these things? It launched the private blend. Anyways, so this is the original Tom Ford for men. Now, there's also a extreme version of this, which I would love to get my hands on. In fact, I would probably prefer that fragrance over this one, because this fragrance, while it is a special fragrance for what it is and the fact that it's discontinued and all that good stuff, this was the original release, by the way, from 2000. This is a 2008 bottle, I believe, but they're starting to get, you know, hard to find. They're starting to get a little bit rare. And the thing about this fragrance is that the first hour is very boring to me. It starts off very citrusy. There's a bunch of different citruses, Italian bergamot, there's basil, there is this violet leaf thing going on with ginger, but it just smells like a boring citrus cologne. But then what happens is there's a transition that happens probably at about the 1 hour mark. And it transitions into a fragrance that brings in a lot of very unique elements to the mix. And once these other elements join the party, it gets a lot more interesting to me. And so there's Tunisian Orange Blossom Absolute. There's Moroccan Grapefruit Blossom. Two very interesting notes. There's also Tobacco Absolute, but this is not a tobacco fragrance to my nose, although there is a tobacco element to it that makes it interesting. And Black Pepper. And then the base is Cypriol, which is this is actually one of the earlier uses of Cypriol that I can think of. Cypriol became very popular from fragrances like Amouage Journeyman and Promise by Frederic Malle, which I love. That's one of my favorite desert gems. I am in love with Promise. Sometimes I just want to wear it even when it's 100 degrees out. And then there's Leatherwood, Oak Moss, Patchouli, Vetiver, Cedar, and Amber. So it is a citrus fragrance, but that initial transition, it's like it shifts it into a different gear and it does something different. And I enjoy that. The problem that this fragrance has is longevity and projection. I've already applied this twice today, and, you know, I could probably drench myself in it again, and, you know, whatever. I won't be sad when the bottle's gone. I'll use it up, and when it's gone, I'll move on to something else, probably that I enjoy even a little bit more. But I would love to get the extreme version. That is definitely on my list. So 5 minutes into the video, we knocked out scent of the day. Let's do fragrances from 2001. So, I mean, 2001, there's only one thing you think about when I think of 2001, and that is 9/11. I was in high school at the time, and I remember, you know, the day it happened. Everyone kind of remembers where they were and what was happening on 9/11, because it really was kind of a shift for the world. It was everything before 9/11 and everything after 9/11 for me. It kind of brought us into a different world. And there are just events in the world that work out that way, and 9/11 is one of them. And, you know, in the 90s and early 2000s, let me show you a couple fragrances that were pretty popular. You know, that freshness in masculine perfumery was still something that was, you know, it was popular. It was a hot commodity. People looked for it. You know, people didn't look for a lot of the big resinous bombs back then, at least not yet. That comes later. But Dior released this, and we all know Dior is at kind of the cutting edge. This is Dior's Higher. What is going on with the lighting? I'm going to turn this up just because the window's open, but it's a cloudy day out, so there's not very good lighting in here. And Higher, I've talked about Higher before. This is the Christian Dior, or yeah, Christian Dior. You can see it right there. It says Parfums Christian Dior. They dropped the Christian Dior name about 20 years ago, I think, maybe 18 years ago, something like that. And so if you ever see a bottle and it says Parfums Christian Dior, you know you're getting an older bottle than one that just says Dior. And so they rebranded this. This is the old bottle with the built-in sprayer. The new bottle, I think, has a cap, and it just says Dior on the bottom, and it says Higher, and it's see-through. You can see the juice. This one, you can't see the juice, which is good and bad. It's bad because you can't see the juice, but it's good because of the fact that light doesn't come in, and sunlight is the fastest way to destroy fragrances. You want to keep them away from sunlight. And so Higher is a fresh, citrusy scent that, you know, for me, I would wear it in similar situations and probably feel the same as Tom Ford for Men. It has this fresh, citrusy, fruity aspect to it. Again, there's basil again. There is pear, peach citruses, but the note of accord, the thing that makes this unique, is the pear, because they've used both pear and they've used pear tree wood in the base. So, you know, when you're wearing something in summer and you want to wear something that's summer appropriate, let's say you're not going to be like me and you're not going to wear Promise in the middle of the heat, which I will do from time to time. I'll just say, screw it, I can't take these fresh fragrances anymore. I need something heavy, and I'll go wear Promise or something crazy like that. You know, assuming you're going to be season specific and correct. Let's say you want to be season correct. This is a correct seasonal fragrance for something like, you know, spring, summer, stuff like that. This also has a note of cypress, which is very underutilized in masculine perfumery. I think I love the note of cypress. There's rosemary, there's some spices, and there's some musk in the base, some clean white musk. This actually won the Fifi Fragrance Foundation Award for Fragrance of the Year, I think in 2002, the year after it was released. But what's funny is, you know, everyone thinks about Dior for like quality of their fragrances, and they think about, when you think of Dior, at least in the old days before some of the debacles with the Privé line, you know, you associated Dior with quality. You associated things like Fahrenheit, Dior Homme, that kind of stuff. And this fragrance is a very under-the-radar Dior. This is probably the least talked about. You know, Dune Pour Homme might be another one that's really not talked about very much. but Dior Higher gets almost no love. In fact, there's really only one YouTuber that I can think of from back in the day who loved this fragrance, and that was Christo. And that's the reason why I actually bought this, is because he got on there. He did a video 10, 11 years ago now. One of his first videos, I think, was on Higher. And he said, hey, you know, no one's talking about this fragrance. Why not? This is a fantastic scent. I'm loving it. And I got it, and I agree with him. For summer, it's a great fragrance. It's not my favorite type of DNA. That's the thing. These kind of fragrances, these citrusy, fresh, I wear them begrudgingly. And most of the time, I'm wishing I was wearing something else. But if you don't want to wear something that's, you know, you don't want to wear Interlude Man or something like that, which I would probably enjoy more, and you want to wear something different for summer, that's what it's all about. You want to be different than just, you know, citruses and vetiver and pink pepper or something like that. You know, Higher adds that twist with the pear. And there's another fragrance that is great for adding a twist, but being season specific, but it's also discontinued. So the first three fragrances we're talking about today are discontinued, unfortunately. This is Trussardi's Python Uomo. And Trussardi is an Italian house. Nicolai Trussardi founded the house. And, you know, one of my subscribers said that this has a very Mediterranean vibe to it. And I didn't think about that until she said it. And then now that's all I can think about now that I think about this fragrance, because she's exactly right. It has this fig wood bark note at the top. This was done by Louise Turner, by the way, who I'm not familiar with any of her other work. Very similar to Tom Ford for Men. This was done by Yves Cesar and Pascal Gorin. I have no clue. Sorry. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Sorry, but I'm not familiar with their work. And Louise Turner is another one that I'm just not familiar with her work, but she made an amazing fragrance here. She was able to kind of step out of the mold and do something different. And this is the scan-in bottle, by the way. I don't know if you'll be able to see that because it's a little dark and the font is small, but it is scan-in, distributed by Scan-In. Also, Selective Beauty took over Scan-In took over the distribution rights for Trussardi in 2005. So this was a 2001 release. So this means this bottle is sometime between 2001 and 2005. And then Selective Beauty did a couple bottles from 2005 to 2010 or something, and then they discontinued it. But if you can find the scan-in version, that's the proper, you know, earlier version, if that's your thing like me. But this is this green, fresh, very relaxing. Look how relaxing of a color that is. I don't know about you, but that just puts me in a very, you know, calm, like you've just had a massage and you can just kind of relax and sit in the sauna, or, you know, go read a good book, or, you know, just very relaxed kind of vibe. This has that for sure. And it also has tea. Tea is a very relaxing note for me. If you just want to, you know, stay home and, you know, spend the day watching Netflix or something, and you don't want to go out and you just want something that's very relaxing and easy to wear, tea fragrances are great. Gucci Pour too is another one that has this blue looking color and also has tea. Skywalker by Mont Blanc is another one that's very contemplative, very, you know, easy to wear. But this fragrance, what makes it Mediterranean is it has this tea, it has this fig. Fig is, you know, when I think about fig, and the other note that's in here is olive. When I think of olive trees and stuff like that, I think of the Mediterranean. So it has olive, it has tea, it has fig tree bark, which is a very specific note, and it has cypress leaf. So not cypress, cypress leaf. And then there's teak wood, another very rare note. Nathalie Lorson used teak wood in Inside Man to perfection, and teak wood is used here as well. And then there's bourbon, vanilla, musk, and tonka in the base. But for a fresh fragrance, if you want to smell different from everyone else, and you don't want to smell like, you know, if you don't want to wear Sauvage and all that stuff, and you like standing out from the crowd, and you're a vintage hunter and you like discontinued fragrances, Trussardi Python is definitely one to put on the to sniff list. And don't be don't be put off by the terrible advertising. There's also, I should mention this, there's also Python, I believe Trussardi calls it just regular Python or Python Donna or something like that. But here's a little mini Python. And the big boy Python. All right, we're going to move on. I'm sure there'll be some comments about the different versions of Python, but all jokes aside, it is a very interesting fragrance. Okay, next, we are going to move from the summer fragrances to the winter or the cooler weather fragrances, and this is unfortunately another discontinued fragrance. So the first four we're going to talk about today are discontinued. I'm sorry. You're on my channel though, so I guess it is to be expected. This is Lolita Lempicka Eau Masculin. And Eau Masculin is one of my favorite anise fragrances. It's also one of the most interesting uses of ivy. You don't see ivy used very often. Ivy is used in Beach Hut Man by Amouage to perfection. And here, it just adds a little bit of greenness. It's really the anise, the aniseed note that takes over. But on top of that, it's made by Annick Minardo. So I did a Perfumer's portfolio video on her. You can check this out. But Annick Minardo is a master of making these, almost like this warm, enveloping, this has vanilla and tonka, and she is a master at using vanilla, tonka, there's cistus labdanum, there's cedar, orgeat syrup, rum, and violet. And it just creates this, even though, you guys have heard me say a lot of things in the past about I don't like sweet fragrances. For some reason, when Annick Minardo does a fragrance that has some sweetness to it, I enjoy it. It doesn't put me off. It's not like there is, someone left me a comment that irked me a little bit because they went to my Symphonium, first impression, and I did bash Symphonium, but they said, oh, by your own admission, you said you don't like sweet fragrances, so, why, we know you're going to give a bad review. Why even watch a review that is anything sweet? And here's a direct, here's a direct example of that not being true, because this is a sweet fragrance. It has some sweetness to it from the vanilla and tonka, and I like it. It's done well. The problem is Symphonium is just shite. Sorry to say it, but it is. It's a $5 fragrance in a $400 bottle is what I told them. So sorry if I hurt your feelings, but I have to be real. That's how it is. Okay. Next is a fragrance that this bottle is no more, but the fragrance is still being put out by artisanparfumeur. This is a fragrance called L'Eau Diambra Extrême. Now, the Extreme version came out in 2001. Well, we're on 2001 video, so of course it came out in 2001. And this is a Jean-Claude Elena. This fragrance took me by surprise because, there are some amber fragrances that you have and, they're just a little bit maybe boring, if you will. I'll give you an example. Here, let me just reach back here and I'll give you an example. This is a vintage bottle of G2, Gaultier 2 by Jean-Paul Gaultier. And this is this, musk, vanilla, very sweet. It almost smells like cake. Maybe there's a little bit of smoky vanilla or labdanum in the base or something, but it's classic Kirkjohn, just simple and to the point, and it is a beast. It lasts forever, but it's just vanilla. It's like you're wearing a vanilla cake. This is an amber that is done proper, in my opinion, and that's why I say, as I have progressed in my journey, and as I've smelled more things, Jean-Claude Elena is a perfumer that originally I didn't like. I thought he was a minimalist. I thought, you know, his style is not for me. But when I smell stuff like this, this really, you know, stuff like this. And then also I talked about this the other day. I wore this as my scent of the day. This is Bel Ami Vetiver. You know, when I smell stuff like this from him, this is 2003. This is 2013, Bel Ami Vetiver. This is 2001. When I smell stuff like this from him, I'm impressed. I mean, I really am. Even though he has a very minimalist style, there's depth to it. There's intricacies. There's nuances. But you have to pay attention. You know, you can't just spray it on, go about your day, and forget about it. It's something you have to, you know, it demands your attention, so to speak. And this fragrance has this interesting mixture of spices. There's nutmeg, cardamom, and pepper and mace with patchouli and Turkish rose. And the Turkish rose brings up a very interesting point we talked about with another fragrance that had Turkish rose recently, Ambre Nuit by Dior. I did a first impression of it. You can go check that out if you'd like. But that has a beautiful Turkish rose note. And I said that the Turkish rose is almost like this waxy, honeyed type vibe, whereas the Bulgarian rose or Damask rose has this jamminess to it. And this rose is exactly that. It's waxy. So you get this waxy feel from this fragrance. Earthy, waxy, spicy. But then the base is benzoin, sandalwood, musk, tonka, and vanilla. It never gets boring. Like Gaultier 2 to me gets boring. It's a great vanilla fragrance. I mean, if you made a, I don't remember if I ever did it. This is not a top 10 vanilla, but if I did, I'm sure I included this. If I didn't, I would include this. And, you know, this is much more interesting to me for whatever reason. I think it smells almost like more professionally done, almost like Gaultier 2 is like a rough draft, and this is kind of like a finished amber fragrance. I know I'm comparing a vanilla and an amber, but I just wanted to, you know, bring out the point. There is vanilla in this, but it's not boring. Somehow, some way, Jean-Claude Elena made a proper amber that keeps my attention, and that's not an easy thing to do because sometimes ambers get boring on me if they're not done very well, and I really enjoy that one. Okay, next we're going to go to the house of Clive Christian. I've shown this before. But all three of these fragrances in this set are from the year 2001. This was kind of their release. So this opens up like so. And if you want to pause it and read about each one, you can. But there's the presentation. Beautiful presentation. You can't fault them for the presentation. That's a really cool sample presentation, if you will. Well, it's not really a sample set because these are 30 ml bottles, but there's 3 in here. And we'll start left to right. So the first one is 1872. 1872 is a Guija Chon fragrance. And this is this fresh green scent that I noticed some bigger channels have been pumping this lately. I won't say any names, but there's some bigger channels that all of a sudden, I don't know if they got a free bottle sent to them or what, but they're just pumping the heck out of this. I'm not a fan of this fragrance. It's not that I'm not a fan, because it's a good fragrance, but I'm right back in the same boat as I am with Tom Ford for Men. Is it a good fragrance? Yes. Is it weather specific for the warm weather? Yes. You know, there's a lot of fruity and citrus notes. There's galbanum, there's rosemary, there's tagetes, there's freesia, there's jasmine. So this is a little bit more floral than some of these other ones we've talked about today. There's supposedly frankincense, labdanum, patchouli, musk, amber, and cedar in the base. I don't get very much of that. I just get this citrusy, floral, fresh thing. And you think about the fact that the House of Clive Christian wants, I don't know, $500 for a 100 ml bottle or something, or $600. I don't know their pricing structure, so if I'm off, I do apologize. But it just seems a little I don't know. It seems like it's not worth it. You know, it's way overpriced to me is what I'm trying to say. I'll stop beating around the bush and say what I mean. It's way overpriced. If this was a $30 fragrance, I would wear it. But would I wear it more than Python? I mean, maybe not. I mean, you know, for me, there's not much more to this that says, hey, this is 10 times better than Python or Higher or Tom Ford for Men. No, I mean, they're just all kind of thrown into that bucket for me. And, you know, it's a citrus fragrance. You could wear Creed's Royal Water. You could wear Aralfa. You could wear Millésime Impérial. They all will pretty much do the same thing. They're all probably overpriced for what they are. Am I glad I have it? Sure, I can test it, and one day I'll review it before this bottle's gone. Would I buy a full bottle once this 30 ml is gone? Absolutely not. So the blurb says, virility is given a delicate and refined touch in this complex of deep woody textures infused with a gentle spice. I don't know. Number 1 for men is the next one. And this is the gold bottle. And number 1 for men is, it used to be, look at the advertising on the front. You may not be able to see it. I don't know, can you? Let's see, the world's most expensive perfume is written right there on the front. That's pretty much barf-inducing advertising to me. Because, you know, it was the most expensive perfume, not because the ingredients inside of it are the most rare and expensive, but because they stuck it in a bottle that had an $80,000 diamond on it or something. And so this is a huge powdery floral. Huge. The heliotrope note in this is massive. You get this powdery, almondy heliotrope, which means it's good quality heliotrope, with paprika, cardamom, bunch of citruses. There is a nice iris note in here, but honestly, I get more joy out of wearing the Dior Homme line. Pick one. Dior Homme, the original Dior Homme Parfum or Dior Homme Intense. I get more pleasure out of wearing those than I do this. And the jasmine in this is huge. The rose and ylang, there's yellow florals. There's rose, there's amber, musk, sandalwood, tonka, vanilla, vetiver, and cedarwood. But mostly it's a powdery floral fragrance. And the perfumer is a woman named Patricia Cho. And I don't know anything about her. So they pick somebody who I can't name a single other fragrance that she's made at all to make their most expensive fragrance. It says, famed for its masterful balance of rare and precious ingredients, number 1 delivers a superlative punch of potent yet delicate notes. So, you know, for me, this would be a pass also when this bottle runs out. Would I buy another one? No. Most men would probably have a hard time wearing this. Since I wear stuff like Amouage Gold Man, which is another big animalic floral. I like Gold Man much more, by the way, than number 1. If you're comparing these two, they both go for the gold look. Amouage wins hands down. This is by far a much better fragrance. But if you're somebody who is a collector and you want to try a bunch of different things like me, you could put this on the list, but make sure you get it heavily discounted. Do not pay $800 a bottle for this. You will be highly, highly disappointed. It's massively overpriced. Now, the final one in this little set, and this is also a Gizeh Schoen, just like 1872, and this is probably my favorite Clive Christian fragrance, along with, they also have a fragrance called C for Men, which I really enjoy. That's very similar to Tuscan Leather. This one is called X for Men. Not X-Men, but X for Men. And this is a spicy, woody fragrance with a beautiful cinnamon and labdanum and styrax. There's oak moss in the base. There's vanilla. There's a Roja Dove fragrance that ended up being very similar to this. This came out in 2001. The Roja Dove came out a decade later, and his is called Reckless, I believe, Reckless Pour Homme. And so they both pretty much do similar things. If you have one, you probably don't need the other. But X for Men, I do enjoy. There is just a hint, a slight hint, if you know fragrances like, this. This is Halston's Z14. This is a vintage bottle, and you'll be able to tell because it is distributed by Halston Fragrances Inc. down there at the bottom. But if you like something like this, there are some differences, obviously. They're not the same. There's no, this has a cypress note in it that X doesn't have. But if you like that cinnamony, you know, if you like that cinnamon feel that you get in Z14, you might check out X for Men. That spicy cinnamon, woody fragrance. You'll get that in X for Men. X for Men is like a niche version of Halston, believe it or not. I've never heard anyone else say that, but that's just something that jumps in my head whenever I wear X for Men. But it's very well done. It's the only one out of this set that I would even consider a full bottle of. And to be honest, I probably wouldn't even bother. But these came out in 2001. Final fragrance. And this is probably, of all of the ones listed, this is probably one that is backup bottle worthy. It's one of my favorite tobacco scents ever. And I just won't buy the new formulation because I'm boycotting Serge Lutens in the new version. But this is called Chergui. And Chergui is one of the masterpieces that Christopher Sheldrake put out. This is honey, leather, amber, tobacco. There's a brilliantly executed note of hay in here. So you get hay, rose, frankincense, tobacco. The iris in Chergui is absolutely beautiful. It's stunningly beautiful. Chergui is, now this also, you know, balks right in the face of Ramsey doesn't like sweet fragrances because there is some sweetness here. But it's done properly. It's not cheap mall scent, you know, sweetness, which is what I get from some other fragrances. Here, it's done correctly. Christopher Sheldrake properly blended Chergui. You know, the honey adds this. I love the note of honey. I'm a big honey lover. I'm a big iris lover. I'm a big leather lover, and I'm a big tobacco lover, and all of them are here. And for the, I mean, look at the color of the juice. It is just absolutely beautiful. And my only regret is that I don't have a backup bottle of this, because this is definitely backup bottle worthy. This and Ombre Sultan are backup bottle worthy. But these little 50 mLs of Serge Lutens bottles in the old presentation like this are going for absurd amounts of money online. I've seen some of these for $500. It's nuts. So, you know, is it worth $500? Probably not. You might just have to say the ship sailed if you're watching this and you're kind of a new collector and you realize, oh damn, I'm late to the old school Serge Lutens party. Don't go, you know, mortgage your house for a 50 ml bottle of Chergui. It's good, but it's not that good. And so, you know, that's one that if you are a tobacco lover, if you don't mind the new formulation, go for it. I'm sure it's probably fine. I'm only trying to collect these old style bottles, and that's what I've done with, you know, Santal Majuscule and Ombre Sultan and stuff like that. And so this is another one that I'm so glad I was able to find in the old formulation. A couple of them, like Rousse, really took me by surprise. I love Rousse. I have a bell jar of Masculin, you know, stuff like that. Serge Lutens is a house that, you know, they're a niche house that really appeals to me, and I love what Christopher Sheldrake did with stuff like this. In 2001, you know, what's interesting about this fragrance too is that this used to be a Fragcom darling. If you go watch old videos from some of the, you know, the founding members of our Fragcom family, you could say, they raved about Chergui a decade ago, and then all of a sudden it just fell off the radar and no one talks about it anymore. Chergui deserves the love. It deserves the limelight because it is one of my favorite tobacco scents. And it's the final one in 2001, so this video is a little shorter because I only did 1 year instead of 2. But there were enough fragrances where I figured we could have a good conversation. If there are other fragrances from 2001 that I don't have that you guys think I should check out, do let me know. And if you have opinions, feedback on some of the fragrances we talked about, let me know down in the comments. I love hearing your, love seeing your faces, love hearing your thoughts. I learn more from you than you do from me. You know the whole drill. A like and a subscription helps, but you don't have to. If you don't want to, that's not why I'm here. Although I am getting close to 1,000 subscribers. Oh, and one thing I should mention is I got a little pop-up when I went to my YouTube studio app today, and it said, "Congratulations!" And I saw 1,000. I thought, what? I'm at 1,000 already? But it wasn't. It was 10,000. It said, "Congratulations for 10,000 view time hours or watched hours," or something like that. So thanks to you guys. I'm a believer in, there's a paradox that I was taught when I was younger, and it always stuck with me. It's the paradox of the window and the mirror. And when good things happen, you're supposed to look out the window and give credit to the people that, you know, you work with, you know, your friends and family and people around you and coworkers and stuff like that. You're not supposed to look in the mirror when things go well and say, "I'm the reason why it all went well. I'm a genius." You're supposed to look out the window and say, "It's because of them. It's because of the great people around me." When things go bad, you're supposed to look in the mirror and say, "What can I do to make things better?" Not look out the window and say, you know, "It's their fault things are going wrong. It's never my fault." So most people have it switched, and I try and stick to the mirror and window paradox of when things go well, I try and look out the window and say, "Hey, thank you to them, thank you to you, thank you to, you know, friends and family." And when things go bad, I try and look in the mirror and say, "What can I do to make it better?" And that's pretty much what how I'm trying to run this channel. And so when things are going well, I want to give you guys the credit, because it really is because of you that we're at where we're at, you know, 6 months into me doing this, not even a full year yet. So I'm sure we'll hit 1,000 subscribers soon. And when we do, I'm going to drop my top 100, you know, countdown. I'm going to rank them. And it has been agonizing, so I'm ready. So get me to 1,000 subscribers. That's all I care about, you know, so I can drop that video right now. Other than that, I don't care about subs. I'm not trying to be YouTube famous. You guys know the deal. I'm just here to talk about perfume, share my passion with you. I hope you guys get something out of it. So cheers. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Bye, guys.